I'm preparing Mozart for a 5-day solo trip up to Fraser Island. It starts out with a 2-hour road trip up to Tincan Bay, where I'll launch into the Tincan Bay Inlet that heads down into Great Sandy Strait before heading up to Garry's Anchorage on the west coast of Fraser. Careful preparation is the key to peace of mind while on the road part of the journey. The first thing I'll say is don't rush it. The last thing you want is a preventable roadside crisis, so take your time and get well prepared the day before leaving. Once underway, it's difficult to replenish the water supply. I allow about 10 litres of water per day, but will probably only use half of that. The last time I backed the trailer up beside the house, I damaged the engine cowling. I'd planned to do a proper fix, but you know what it's like, and I didn't get round to it. Some quick repairs with the gaffer tape will do the trick for now. The brakes on Mozart's trailer are mechanical surge brakes. This system uses the momentum of the trailer while braking the vehicle to push a cylinder that transfers pressure to the brakes via cables. Before an extended trip, it's a good idea to check the adjustment of the cables and grease the cylinder. I want to make sure that the bearings are in good condition. A quick way to check this without taking things apart is to raise the wheel clear of the ground and give it a wobble to see if there's any slack, and listen carefully for any grumbling noises when you give it a spin. If the brakes are adjusted properly, the pads may be lightly brushing the discs. It's easy to filter this noise out. Tyre pressures will vary from trailer to trailer, depending on loads and road conditions. For this trip I have mine inflated to 35 psi, but if you're uncertain, have a chat with your mechanic and listen to his advice. It's time to remove the tarp and bring Mozart into the light of day for the first time in a while. Handling a large tarp on your own can be a challenge. I've learnt to fold the tarp in a particular way that makes it easy to put it back on after the trip. I make a couple of folds towards the centre line and then roll it from both ends. In that way I can balance it on the mast as it lays along the deck and easily roll it out and unfold it on my own. When I restored the trailer, I set up a complete wheel kit including discs and bearings. Most roadside dramas are not just flat tyres but bearing failures. And by the way, the best spares in the world won't make one bit of difference if your scissor jack in your car is not strong enough to lift the trailer. For my boat, I carry a 2-ton hydraulic bottle jack. The winch needs a light greasing, and it's a good idea to check the condition of the cable or strap. I'm planning to replace this one with Dyneema soon, but it's still good for a trip or two. Even if you service your outboard regularly, the steering post can seize up through lack of use and the effect of saltwater corrosion. So once again, a couple of pumps of good quality marine grease can prevent a drama on the water. I like to keep my beer nice and cool, so I have a 105 amp deep cycle battery that gets topped up by a 100 watt solar panel and an 8 amp charge from my ignition coil on my dependable little 8 horsepower Yamaha 2-stroke. The system runs lossless. I put a trickle charger on for a few days before departure to make sure it's topped up fully. A word of caution, the volts measure how full the battery is, but it doesn't reveal the health of your battery, which is the ability of the battery to release the power. That's measured in amps. If you use the battery to start the motor, you'll need to get a lot of juice out of the battery quickly. Lead acid batteries start to build a layer of sulfides on the plates if the voltage sits below 12.2 volts. Over time, this will reduce the amps it can deliver, and eventually this will kill the battery. If you want to know the condition of your battery, get it load tested at a battery shop. But if you're like most of us, you'll wait until it fails and hope that it doesn't happen at an inconvenient moment. Starting out well organised is the first step towards being comfortable in a compact space. I use one bag for clothes, another for my camera and computer gear. The 2 clear tubs contain utensils and food in the other one that doesn't need refrigeration. All my bedding is in a waterproof compression bag because no matter what you do to prevent it, water will get into the boat one way or another. Once you've got everything organised into bags, it all needs to be carefully stowed below. Heavy items like fuel and water will change the balance of your trailer. At least 10% of the total weight of the boat and trailer needs to be on the tow ball. If you load too much in the rear of the cockpit, you could go below this threshold and end up with a catastrophic loss of control of the vehicle. Come with me on my final walk around and checks. My lights failed, but luckily I had a backup light board to plug in so I can leave the repairs for a convenient time. In Australia, a single safety chain suffices for single axle trailers. Tandem trailers require 2 safety chains. The brake preventer is for reversing. It needs to be flipped out of the way for the road, otherwise the brake won't work. At this stage, I'll leave the handbrake on while I'm parked on the sloping driveway. The winch strap is tight, but I don't rely on this to hold the stem snug in the V-block. A safety chain is kept as short as possible to prevent the stem from jumping out of place. This happened to me once. When you glance in the rearview mirror and see that the boat is continuing to move towards the car after you've come to a stop, it can cause heart failure. The front of the mast is secure in its cradle and fastened with a couple of bungee cords. I started using this front strap after the event when the boat moved forward on the trailer. Although it's not a legal requirement, it is a fail-safe. It's still a bit loose and I'll retension it before I get underway. All the shrouds and stays are coiled and attached to the mast. They can get in a horrible tangle if you don't do this, and it can cause issues when you're trying to raise the mast. The weight of the fuel stowed aft in the cockpit is offset by water which is placed forward of the axle inside the boat. The solar panel is secured flat in the cockpit. It's plugged in and active, topping up the battery and keeping the beer cold while on the road. This heavy-duty strap holds the rear of the boat down and prevents the boat from moving backwards. It's tensioned firmly but not over tight. All the weight of the boat is on the keel rollers. It's bad practice to support the boat on its bilge. A kiddie's foam kickboard is a perfect way to prevent paint damage from the metal bits. The outboard remains on the boat, but I'm careful to pull it up on the cleat so that none of its load is on the motor bracket. I'll tie up that boarding ladder once I've finished loading up the boat. The VHF antenna is lashed onto the push bit to prevent it from whipping around at around 90 km an hour, which is my safe travelling speed for this vehicle and trailer combination. I double check that the safety chain is as short as I can make it. The winch strap is not to be relied on to keep the boat in place. It will usually settle onto the winch and slacken off in transit. The jockey wheel is up and locked into place. Sometimes the handle can dangle a bit and scrape on the road, so it's not a bad idea to tie that up as well. And now for the most important check of all. Is the tow ball fully inserted into its socket? It can sometimes perch up on top and it can't be noticed looking down from above. The locking handle should snap into place and lock down securely. I'm talking from experience, having had it jump off once, and even though restrained by the safety chain, a lot of damage to the vehicle resulted. The only thing left to do is to kiss my wife farewell, release the handbrake and head north with peace of mind. After about 20 minutes or so it pays to pull over and do another walk around check. As things settle, you may need to retension some things. I shot several hours of interesting footage on my recent trip up to Fraser Island. Not everything went to plan, and I had a couple of heart-in-mouth moments, interspersed with periods of awesome serenity. You can hear about it in the videos that I'll be publishing in the coming weeks. Happy trailer sailing, and share your thoughts and feedback in the comments below. Subscribe and hit the notification button, and that helps me to get more people watching so I can keep the videos coming. Hi, I'm Christopher. In my day job, I swap hats from sailing moonlight to business pilot. If you're in business and need video marketing or a website that works, you might like to consider using my services and support the channel at the same time.